Hey, Honey Wash Day. This is Toksa Hour. I am Maggie Ross, and I am live from Porcupine, South Dakota, along the Porcupine Creek where the porcupines roam. I apologize, we're a little slow here. Um, we're going to have a guest this morning. Our guest is going to be, excuse me, Chas Jewett, and we are trying to send to email. It's always something. Yeah, so I apologize, but I'm sending her. I sent it earlier and then I don't know, we got it lost, but anyway, she's going to be joining us. Chaz is from, excuse me, from Eagle Butte, South Dakota. She's are from the Cheyenne River Reservation. She's an enrolled member of the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe. And we are hoping that this goes. I could just send it to her text message, maybe. Send it all kinds of ways so that she gets it. Never fails, never fails. Anyways, so this is this is Doksha Hour, and I'm really excited. Chaz is logging in now, so she'll be joining us shortly as soon as it allows her to sign in with us, wherever she may be. So we are this morning going to talk about Palestine. And we are going to talk about things that we can do to be helpful. Our episode title, I'm kind of getting good at this. I'm calling this episode From the River to the Sea, Indigenous Solidarity with Palestine. So one of these days, I'm going to have it so chill with Doksha Hour. We'll have agendas. We'll have all of these things. Chat GPT is a good helper. Helps me organize my schedules
Yeah,
and agendas.
yeah.
Good morning, Chaz.
Hi. I have been getting a lot of pressure from a lot of my water friends to not use ChatGPT, um, because of all the water it uses. So I have been trying not to, which is unfortunate because I actually was like, you know, I was digging it there for a while. It was giving me a lot of good direction. Um, but how are you this morning?
I'm trying to get it together. I have a lot of I get a lot of um topic ideas and push for shows and stuff, and sometimes it comes all right at the beginning of Doksha Hour, and so then I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get ready for something right now. We'll take that idea later.
Okay. Hey, I was gonna share it on my Facebook because I know I'm in the middle of it, but I was gonna share it, let folks know that we were going live and I haven't even gotten there yet. Well, I could do it from my phone. But I'm really glad you got me on here because I've just been so stressed out about, what's going on over there. And it's nice to be able to talk about it. I think a lot of people don't pay attention to it as much as we do. And so it's a lot. And so it's nice to be able to sort of dump it a little bit. Um, and I was just realizing, you and I are both TikTok people, how amazingly messed up that algorithm is now, because one of the people that I follow on there, a musician, a young a Jewish musician from New York, is on the flotilla as well. And I just now found out that this morning, but she's been posting since September 6th. So, and I follow her, right? So I should have seen it by September 6th, but now I just now saw it. So that's how much they're impacting, the algorithm, I think already, unfortunately.
Yeah, like I think people are just making plans, right? To just As soon as the sale is done of TikTok, BBNet and Yahoo, Benny. Hey, I'm changing his name. Everyone calls him BB, but I'm gonna start calling him Benny, and I'm gonna start calling Donald Trump Donnie. I'm just gonna
Donnie.
call him little boy names.
Well, I think that was his second name. He's got a different name. He started out, he's Polish, right?
Yeah,
BB.
Muskowachi or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Musovich, Muskovich,
Yeah,
Anyways, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
I've been uh watching some of the things, but yeah, he did a press release. I think it was yesterday, or it might have been Friday. I'm kind of a little lost in my days, but he did a press release saying that basically Israel bought TikTok.
Yeah, he said that. He did. I saw that. I saw himself saying it. Multiple people. Yeah. Uh, and and then I heard it was Larry Ellison who owns Oracle. And then I heard there's been something of a stop to that. So I don't know. They said I've heard a couple of different things since then, but yeah, he did. Yeah, I saw that. The most important thing we did was buy TikTok. I was like, oh my God. That
Yeah, Larry
are we? We're not that surprised, but
Larry Ellison is the founder and owner of Oracle. And and he also spends like billions of dollars he gives to the IDF, to
yeah.
their military, to fund their military. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but he is not the Palantir guy giving a lecture about the Antichrist. That's a whole another billionaire that we have to be afraid of, be very afraid of.
I know,
Um,
I know. It's
right,
it's it's
right.
insane.
I think that it's just it's sort of kind of in an apt sort of place for America to find itself in, though. I do believe, um, sort of from the inside out, right? I mean, we're all thinking, Donald Trump is not American. Yes, he's the worst of it. He's the worst of it. He's totally American. He's kind of what everyone deserves, and this is who you are. You are the land of the poopy diaper leaders. You know, that's your leadership. No offense, no offense. That's the rumors. I've seen it. I've seen no offense to people who can't control themselves. But yeah, I mean, like it's like the absolute just the craziness of it all. But I'm a big history buff, and so I like to put things in perspective through history. And back in the day, when they were in the 1910s and during the Roosevelt days, when they were sort of controlling the industrialists back then, trying to, I think that they uh, was Henry Ford, who was like, an open Nazi. Was he any worse or better than, Rockefeller, who, has funded all of these, crazy things? Um, money is made up, right? And people are starting to figure that out. And I love that, as well as science, as well as confirming all of our indigenous, philosophy with the physicists and all this stuff. There's like, what there's uh, the science. I am a little science person, and so I heard something about how we only get to really fully understand like 4% of the universe. So like the great mystery, holy crap, it's like 96% of what's happening out there. And we only get to have just like this little tiny bit of it. And and so like they don't know. It's like, those things that we have always, believed to be of true, that we are of the earth, we are people of the earth, and we are related to everything. All of those things are being confirmed by science. And so it's kind of a good time for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's they say the reason why like we can't be fully aware is because our brain would become overloaded and it would shut down. So that's all we
Yeah,
can handle. That's all the information we can handle.
that's right. And uh that's interesting to me too, because we take in so much information now. Like I was reading a book once about how, we used to be the stimuli currently versus the stimuli back in the day was like, listening to the frogs versus, looking at 90 different things with writing and, having all this, advertising come at you. It's like a whole different state of humanity really we're in when you think about it. And it's not a very good one when the leadership and the entire world is I feel really ashamed for me all the time of being an American, like because the rest of the world is like so on board, and I'm sure they're just like looking at us like, what the heck, you guys? What's wrong with you guys? And I don't know, like I'm back on Facebook, I told you, and folks are just like, sort of doing partisan stuff, and they're worried about the jail in South Dakota, which is, a very real thing. But on the level of enemies right now, BB's number one, and then you go down because I do believe that BB has like everything to do with the ICE stuff and the incarceration, and there's 1,200 people missing still from what do you call it? Alligator Alcatraz.
Alligator, alligator Alcatraz.
What a horrible name too. Like the other thing I've been blown away lately about thinking about how America, like the United States, is just like a freaking death cult. Like we just celebrate death. Like because I found out that I follow that historian on TikTok, and she said that deadline, the word deadline, came into English because of in one of those um, Civil War prisons, there was a place where like some of the like if you crossed the line, the guards would shoot at you, and they called it the deadline, and that's how that word deadline came into our vernacular. What a bunch of dead like we've always been sort of like just this just horrible, like, very mean spirited, very you know what I mean? Extractivism. It's like the whole rape culture, like, there's no consent involved in nothing. Like, we just assume always that, we're dealing with people like us, and that's how it gets us in trouble all the time.
It is. It is. It's really interesting to learn learn about where words, come from and how they were thought to, how, it's like the era or defining an era or time. So it'll do that. And then how people will continue to use them and then how they might often go over and then they create a different. So like what we think about, so what you just said, deadline, but what do we think today of deadline? Like deadline is like, oh, that's when we have to get it done.
Yeah, and sometimes people are afraid of them. Some of them people are like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't get too worried about deadlines unless, I mean, I do sometimes. I don't know. But deadlines run our world. Like that's the deadline. We got to get it done. And it's like that's the deadline. Like next time you say it like that, okay, no, I'm not going to get shot by the jailers, but
Yeah, the deadline. Jeez.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it like, and too like redskin, just like those like words that came into our vernacular that are based on just horrible stuff, like genocidal, things. Like it's just like when you think about it, they just sort of the English language just kind of consumes um, you know, the people and the words that they consume, I guess. I don't know. That's a kind of a horrible way to say it, but um Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me because, we've been having these conversations about literacy. I've been because it was National Literacy last week. Now that I'm on the radio, I have to do like these this day and all these days. So every day is like something I learn something new. Um, Oh my God, Maggie, though, I have to tell you guys and the public in general, anyone here at KIPI who was listening, I really recorded the best show I've ever recorded ever yesterday. For today, yesterday. And yesterday I was like right above like, so there was no show there was no music. There's just like music when in my show yesterday. Sometimes technology is not my friend. I didn't figure it out either until the very end. And I was so mad at myself because the other DJ's coming in and I was like, you'll never get, I'm so glad I'm the boss. I said, because I just did nothing for 4 hours. I was like, I cannot even believe it. So now I have to go in after we get done here and record my show for today. Yeah, but anyway, one of the things I did do is I talked about, what I knew so far about, what's happening over there. And I did hear, I don't, and maybe want to confirm with you that the Israeli troops in Gaza have pulled out. Did you hear that? Someone said that because there's armies emassing at all of their other places. So they had to pull out I think somewhere else there's Egypt is doing some stuff or some, I don't know, somewhere I heard somewhere they had to pull out. And so that could be a good thing. But also, and I just, we talked about it I think on the phone with the South Korean or the North Korean leader jumping into the conversation on behalf of Greta Thunberg is kind of exciting, I think, in a way. And we have to give her a shout out, Greta, who came to Standing Rock to support us. I saw a little bit of her video, a snippet of her on the thing, and she just seemed like a lovely person. And I appreciate her sacrifice so much because, her life is just dedicated to this. And, kudos to her because she recognized the true enemy, right? The true enemy is this giant amorphous military industrial complex that's allowing the Palestinian people to starve, right?
There's, and it's really, I was just reading, I was looking up to answer your question to see if in my Gaza news, if anybody, like Sirda or whatever has said something about the troops pulling back. I don't see anything in
Oh,
my
good.
Discord news.
It might have been, it might have been not true, so you never know.
But the biggest story that's coming out is um iPhone 17. Have you heard about that?
No, what?
So this is their story. It says, how did the iPhone 17 enter Gaza? And what is its connection to funding armed networks linked to the occupation? Special sources revealed to Gaza 24 Live that the entry of modern phones into the Gaza Strip, especially the iPhone 17, takes place through local smuggling networks in exchange for intelligence and facilitation with the Israeli army. According to the sources, these facilitations began with the coordination of Yasser Abu-Shabaab and in cooperation with the Sons of Sinai and Al-Arjani company,
Okay.
which handles the entry of trucks through special coordination for sums that may exceed $200,000 per truck. The sources added that Abu Shabaab's militia earns approximately $6,000 from the entry of a single iPhone 17, which is later sold inside Gaza for prices reaching $12,000 via trucks loaded with goods, cigarettes, and phones, with the aim of funding networks linked to the occupation. Sources also report that the Israeli intelligence is offering facilitations in exchange for providing security information about resistance factions and the conditions of Israeli detainees in Gaza. So that's how, they're known, Israel is known to do this, to use technology. So that's what they did to Hezbollah, right? They sent out all of those pagers, and then the pagers exploded
No,
in Lebanon.
did you see him joke about people having pagers? The
Hmm.
guy's a crazy guy. He said, see, he made a joke about it, BB did. Like, what a freaking like demon. Like that guy's nuts. Like, how would he in front of everyone that whole press corps, I would have been scared. I would have been scared. And right, but I do have an iPhone. So, you know, I mean, those things are, if that's happening, that could happen. And, if
And
it does,
AT&T's in with Israel.
oh,
So
great. I have AT&T too.
so I was looking, I've been researching T-Mobile. So
Mhm.
T-Mobile doesn't seem to be affiliated. They're not on the BDS list. And so I think I'm going to switch my carriers, and then I'm going to probably get out of my iPhone, get away. Like there's all kinds of things, like I'm substantially changing my life over these things.
Mm.
Substantially changing my life.
I might too. Mine's a piece of junk. Like it's weird too. Mine um it doesn't give me my keepy management text group. Like every now and then, like it'll give me the whole week, and I'll be like, really? Like it'll just like that one list, and then like when I go back and forth between the data and the Wi-Fi, and it's really confusing to my phone, and so I got a lot of problems with. I always have technology. I mean, obviously, if I did that yesterday already. So anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about the flotilla. They were attacked at one time, and they said that Italy and Spain were joining them. And then someone said that they were getting some pressure from Italy to turn around, or to give them the aid. And so I hope that doesn't happen. They get that close, and then they're not able to break um, you know, the blockade. And I was reading about that too, and people don't know, like, this is going on for 17 years, the blockade of Gaza. Like this is not something that just started. And folks, I think we are so insulated here in America and distracted. I mean, think about like what happened. This Charlie Kirk stuff all happened just right when things are getting tough there, and that flotilla's going there. That's why I'm a little nervous about what's going to happen, because uh, the all eyes on Charlie Kirk over here, and those guys are over there all vulnerable, and who knows what could happen. They're poets and singers, like, and that's who the world is sending to them. I mean, it's kind of cool when you think about it, but also like um, what a horrible thing for us to be at in this time, to be able to watch it on video, and to be unable to have any kind of courage in our leadership, like any kind of courage. Like, didn't they give him more money last week?
Yes, they did. More money. And then I got a letter again from John Thune, and he just like raving about our relationship and how important it is that we have this relationship with um Israel, and all of the things that they're our ally and our friend, and all of that. And it's just like he's just proud that they're sending so much of our tax dollars. And then it's been rumored, I mean, it's been sitting on like the bill of Congress and in their legislative sessions or their committee sessions about funding IDF soldiers with American tax dollars. And so I saw a couple podcasts where veterans were livid because supposedly it passed. I haven't had the time to go and look to see if it actually did pass.
It absolutely did. It absolutely did, Maggie. We are giving Israeli soldiers and Israeli students what we are not giving American students and soldiers. And it's ridiculous. And it can only be that they're all like, purchased by Israel, because how is it possible that they're giving all of our tax dollars to another country? And no one else is aware of it. And the only people like us guys who are like on the side going, whatever, but no one listens to us anyway. We're
Yeah.
just like, we're just on the bottom of the thing. And I was thinking about to think about that. Like, I watched this horrible video, and you probably have seen it, maybe, I don't know, of an ICE agent throwing an Indigenous woman down. And it broke my heart because she's just a little tiny girl, woman, I guess. I'm just so big, so I just like look at anyone tiny. Anyway, it was just a little so vulnerable, and she did an interview outside, and it's a very famous video. It was at the freaking New York City immigration court, where her husband came to go to court, because that's what you do in a civilized society. And outside, the little ice man, threw her down and separated her and her husband. And her husband is from Ecuador, apparently. And she says, there's no justice in Ecuador. Don't send him there. He can stay with me in my country, because apparently she's from a different country. And he throws her down, and it's very ugly. And apparently he's been fired, which is great. But the ICE thing is, she says in an interview outside, and Telemundo got it, and it said, she said, I'm an Indigenous woman, and no one watches out for me anywhere, like as people, or anywhere, like where are we safe? Where are we safe? She said. And I was like, not here, sister. Like there's, we're the poorest of the poor here in America. And I think that, that connection between, the immigrants being Indigenous people isn't really hitting the res. And I'm kind of sad about that, because we should be more in an uproar. Our leaders should be, opposing those ICE movements, all of that stuff. We are always convinced by the rhetoric around crime, and because we have to live with it. But it's colonial. Who's setting the crime, and who's doing the crime. People, the global majority are in the jails, not the non-Indian settlers who live lives much better than ours. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about that ICE stuff too, because it just broke my heart. I was just like, so sad for her. She's got children now, and they're separated. He's gone, and she was humiliated on video, and will be immortalized by that exchange. And she's a beautiful, very well spoken person though, and so you should check it out if you haven't seen it. I mean, not to see it, but like her response, I did repost it on TikTok. It's pretty great. So
Yeah, I think there's so many interconnections, right? The what is happening and the realization. I've just come across this guy on TikTok too, and he's talking about um empires and the rise of empires, and he talks about how the triangulation between money, what was it, money, family, I think it is, and then religion. So he talks about like how our families, we are in this, we are, most societies they first develop around families, and it's your family, and then you grow, and then it's the influence of that family. So what families become the most prominent and the most influential, and then how they will use belief systems to mobilize their family groupings. And then from there, like capitalism or financial systems like, so whatever it might be, the barter system, whatever, maybe for Lakota people, it's horses,
Yeah.
having the most horses, or the elk teeth,
Mhm.
whatever it is that starts to define. And then you go upward, and as you go upward, then you might get into like building. So how you build factory industry for jobs, for working things to do. And then eventually you get to a place where you're like mega cities. And in mega cities, you have a disconnect. So you're no longer connected to your families. You're now an individual. So in families, everybody knew you were sick. In that family relationship, we were all helping each other because that's how we needed to survive. But then as we move upward into the development of um this model of what they might call civilization, our city, mega city life, you become disconnected and you become an individual, and nobody even knows you're sick. Nobody even cares you're sick because you just go to see the doctor. And so I spent probably, I don't know how long, listening to him, and he was just fascinating. And I've been reposting his stuff as well. It's like,
Well, it makes sense because I think that the individual, we all like there's the idea for us to be individuals. Well, who are we? Last week I had a profound moment because one of our DJs is my cousin's kid, and her kid came in and running into my office and called me grandma. She was like, "Grandma, grandma, grandma," and I was like, don't call me grandma. First of all, I'm not old. I am old, but she, uh, that baby, she knew her first, her grandma's first cousin. Like her grandma is my first cousin. So technically, we're sisters, right? In Lakota way. And so I am her grandma, and she just knew it. Like she never called me that before. She'd never done anything, and it's sort of like really, it had a moment for me where I sort of decolonized in my thinking because I never had really thought about her like that. I have like 35 first cousins and all my aunties and all that stuff, whatever, but I never really have considered myself to be like that auntie and all of that to my just to my sister's kids, just to my sister's kids and all that. So I was really sort of like thrown off by that and sort of by my own colonization, because of course that little baby's my granddaughter. And I think that that's exactly what we're talking about, is that we've lost that connection, and to come back to the ways of being Lakota, and in relationship, right? Because that's what it really defines us, is that we have a relationship. That's what we are as a people. We're a people with a relationship with the pipe, first of all, with a relationship with the land. We're a people with a relationship to each other, right? And so we get to decide how we treat our relatives, right? That's why, we have to always, live with integrity and treat everyone the same, right? Because I think that, so many Christians, don't listen to Jesus when he said, love thy neighbor like yourself. And so we do a lot of judging in this individual world. It's like a very competitive, individual world. And so, it's nice that we think about going back, but also, um, it's not happening and it's getting worse. A lot of times, Maggie, it's very frustrating. Sometimes I vacillate. I'm sorry. I'm very, very hopeful and then, very scared.
I think that, like, you look at all the underlying influences. So one of the things, like, I'm always about learning different things. If I have a question or something I'm thinking about, I'll do a lot of research to to see why, like why is this question in my head? Why do I want to know this, or why do I feel the need to know this? And I'll just go and probably, maybe some people will think I'm wasting a lot of my time, looking at things, but I look at it, and then back to what you were saying earlier about how we're realizing or seeing all of the interconnections between Israel and what's happening in the United States. And so there was a post that or a TikTok that I watched, and they showed where ICE had used an autistic child to lure the father out, and then they arrested the father, roughed him up and everything at that point. And then there was another TikTok that I saw where the same thing, but using children to lure out the people. And so what, to me, my comments in those are, did you know that they do this in Palestine as well? They're doing this in Palestine as well. People often do not know that our law enforcement, our military, our ICE agents are all going over to Israel, and they do military police training. A lot of the tactics that we use in America and our police departments come from direct training from the IDF soldiers. The militarization of what they do to their own people as well. And so we're even seeing like because Bibi was able to do this to the Palestinians. And if you look at how all of this is one big happy family or whatever is supposed to be occurring in the land of Palestine. And so you have these Ashkenazi Jewish people that moved into the land, and it's all supposed to be one big happy family, but it's not. And so then Israel becomes a state, and they start to do land grabs and to terrorize the Palestinians, and they put them into apartheid systems because Israel has control over them. And so you look at that, and then you go back and you look at what's happening here in the United States. Trump now is using the military against the people, and that's not supposed to be happening. And so there was a news article about Kristi Noem, the former governor of South Dakota, talks to Donald Trump, and he's eager to brag about it, calling for the military to meet them in Portland because of the terrorists or whatever that are in Portland. And so what had happened is now we are all considered terrorists because we are minority. And if a South Dakota farmer who is a Trump supporter, MAGA supporter, doesn't think this is going to end up on their front porch, it's going to end up on their front porch, because you see ICE agents going on to farms, taking people, doing things to people. I watched where one farm owner came out and told him, "Get the F off my land. This is my land. We'll have a showdown here." And so they left, but they're coming for your guns as well. You people don't think it's not going to end up there, but it's going to end up there, and we're all in the same boat. It's the billionaires against us.
That's right. I mean, I feel like they're but they're not gonna figure that out. I mean, I think that the regular the built-in white supremacy in America is gonna keep some people kind of happy about what's happening. Kind of happy about getting those homeless people off the street. That's those people, a lot of people are very heartless. I wrote a poem the other day about these three turkeys that I keep seeing on a mama turkey and her three little babies. And I keep seeing it every morning as I go to work. And so one morning I'm like, Mama Turkey, I slowed down. I said, Mama Turkey, take your babies away because not because I will not run you over, but others will. And people do. And so like, people in this culture are very mean. And so like there's a punitive part of this country that makes me into a hermit. And it does. And like you can't, there's not too many relationships that are safe and loving. And so I feel like in a lot of ways, like, we're not informed in a general basis, like we're not informed. People do not understand that there are masked men in Iowa. I watched exactly what you're talking about. I watched a man in Iowa at the grocery store. And he was like trying to protect the guy who was just being pulled off the street by two masked men. We found out last week, Maggie, that there was 350 FBI people in the mix in January 6th, 270 FBI. So who was so there was FBI people being paid by the federal government to infiltrate those um uh groups. And now a lot of those groups are working for ICE. And they did an interview of one of the new ICE people and they said, why? He said, because I'm poor. So these poor white people are going to work to round up these poor brown people. Hello, that sounds familiar. Like, and
Even brown people are doing it.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
People
Oh,
of color are doing it as well. Yeah.
there's
It's just because we're all and the guy that I was talking about that I've come across and been following, he he also says that there's a process in the decline. So as we're going upward and we're becoming individualized and disconnecting, um, financial systems do the same. So they're here. The first thing that they're doing is that they're building like small business, they're building jobs, they're growing outward like that. And then they start going into a process of markets. So you're going into investments. And so then so your first stage is or I think it might be second stage is generational wealth. You remember how people would talk about generational wealth. So people would be invested in something and so that it would secure within their family and their families would continue. Well, we're past that phase. So we are now in like this mega concepts of markets are what do you call that when we're investing? So
uh,
we're no longer like the billionaires. They are no longer about creating jobs. They are about creating debt and creating their own financial billionaire status. So they just want to invest in the markets, invest in the markets, invest in the markets, and move the market so that they reap the benefits of it. And so they don't care about workers, they don't care about creating jobs. So one of the other things Trump said about TikTok was it became very apparent that, and the billionaires don't like it, is small business being created on TikTok. And people are not buying from the billionaire, doing the things from the billionaire. People are doing their own thing. They are creating their own jobs and they're creating their own revenue. They no longer are dependent on the billionaire as long as TikTok stays the same. So Trump and the billionaires have this idea, Netanyahu has this idea, or Satanyahu has this idea, and it comes together. It merges because these billionaires all fund this anyways. And so the silencing, and Trump also said that TikTok is going to become a MAGA algorithm.
Oh, it already is a little bit. I've gotten a few things from them. But just to continue on the economy conversation, I do believe it's their intent to crash the economy. That's why they're so going into crypto. And he said, one of his advisors, I think, said something about crashing the gold standard. And if he crashes the gold standard, he screws the entire world's economy. And so, like, I think, they don't care about, I mean, how much money has he made? Like $5 billion in his crypto since he started. It's so embarrassing. If I was like any kind of like, American with standards, like, and who is not embarrassed at the way they're just destroying the common good. Like, everything good about this country is being destroyed one economy after another. The farming economy, the small business economy. That was already, all of these people, both parties are doing a really good job of, creating a, dumpster fire. And they're not, no one is speaking sense. They're all just playing a game. That's why I try to stay out of politics anymore, party politics anymore, because it's just a game for everyone. All these a lot of organizers are, non-Indian, and, have, generational wealth, and it's just a game for them. Politics is life, and if you don't understand that, you shouldn't be playing, you shouldn't be involved in these conversations. These are for the big people, the grown-ups, right? Like, if you can't control your anger, you don't want to work with us, do anything like with this. Well, that's too bad, because we're here to create an environment, a community. And, I think that's why we're so, like, things are so challenged. It's because we got all these boomers who are, traumatized and unhealed, and who have been unable to create, mentees. And so there's no, like, upcoming, leadership, and, I don't know, in a lot of ways in Indian country, I feel like, we've been, uh, sort of, hampered by our inability to think outside of the box. We don't have to stay in the IRA government. This in this reality, we don't. We could all get together in a couple of days and, vote something out and do something else, and change the processes by which we live. But just like money being fake, some of these concepts, I think, are beyond folks. And that makes me feel bad, because I'm like the chattering class, and I hate that. But it's true. Like, having the ability to even have these kinds of conversations where we talk about these things shows our privilege. A lot of our people are, day by day, struggle with the realities of, the burden of generational poverty. And so we expect them to be able to understand these things, and there's a lot of shaming that happens all the time, and I hate that, because I think that the more educated we become, the less we know, right? And so if we don't, if we only know a little bit, then we hold on to that little bit, and we stay, malleable. And so many of us are malleable, but it's hard to be free. I was thinking about, I was watching my little nephew. He played football yesterday, and I love him. He's just like a little artist kid. He's just like the sweetest one. And all the kids were doing the boom, 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 and doing whatever. And he was like not. He's like a non-conformist, that kid. And like, I was like, I'm gonna talk to him next time I see him, and be like, if you want to be a part of the team, you got to do what teams do. You got to be a part of the team. You're not going to be a good part of the team if you don't want to, do the team stuff. And I understand that. I'm a good team player. And so I'm going to have a talk to him about that. But also, I love the fact that he felt free and loved, and enough to non-conform. He goes to a little border town up here. I just love it. So, but that's what we have to do, is teach people to non-conform. And how do we non-conform in this society? It's like, being kind, really, and doing what we're doing, what you're doing, is spreading the information and telling people, trying not to get bogged down by it all.
It gets, I often, like I used to write for Black Hills People's News, and Black Hills People's News was a newspaper that was printed here in the late 1990s and early 2000s. I think it was around for maybe 5 years or 6 years, and then 7 years maybe, and then It just kind of went away. But
Yeah, I remember it.
people would say stuff, about Black Hills People's News. Oh, it's trash. Oh, it's garbage. And I would write for Black Hills People's News, and I wrote for free. I never charged them nothing. And I would tell them, but that's where people are reading. So if you want to have impact or influence on somebody, you have to be where they're at.
That's
You
right.
can't, like, I can't be writing for the Wall Street Journal and thinking that I'm going to make some kind of impact and change here.
That's
And
right.
so,
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
and even like, so our local journalists, like they're not writing, they're writing to somebody else. The like Lakota Country Times, whatever, they're writing to somebody else. They're not writing to where the people are at. So their intent to sell a newspaper is to sell it to somebody else. So those stories are prettied stories, they're positive framing stories, they're all of that. They're not about the struggle. There's nobody writing about the struggle that exists right now on our reservations, like the gun violence, the bootlegging, the drug dealing, the community violence, the trauma in our families. Nobody's writing about those and trying to help us lift up or stand up or do something in a different way. So everybody's always like, up here, I'm going to use my voice, and now but I'm going to become this. I'm going to become this person here, and now I'm going to get millions of dollars for my voice, and then not really do anything about that community that helped raise you up. And so I see that so often, and it frustrates me because I just try to stay here. Like, I try to stay with the people. I try to listen and be with them and try to figure out ways to help them. But now we're like in this time, going back to the conversation about the professor, where he's talking about the decline. So the great empire is falling apart. And he did this really great job because he talked about the Roman Empire, all the empires, like how they massively grew into the empire and then their decline. So here we are with the American empire, and where we've reached the decline. We are at the decline. And so the thing that we have to do in the decline is we have to come back down to this place of family. And so we need to reconnect as family, and we need to help each other through the struggle, because we never got to, I mean, while some of our council people and stuff got to that place where they could individualize and not care about anybody, but the majority of us have always been down here trying to figure out. And so we need to like redirect back to our families and even get us away from the gang culture, get us away from those things, but back, because that culture is not going to get you into the future. What it's going to do is get you into your grave sooner than you think. And it just is the demise of our people. And so we're back to our family. We have to get back to our family, and we have to get back to working together and helping each other, whether it's I was saying this, like, in the sense of gardening. Maybe somebody just says, I'm going to plant all the corn. And maybe somebody says, I'm going to plant all the tomatoes. And somebody says, I'm going to plant all the peppers and whatever. And so then within your family Teoshwe system, you can start trading those things and helping each other. Also, what I think about the Palestinian people is they have these big cooking pots where they're feeding the people. We probably need to be doing that within our families as well, just cooking and providing, coming together or whatever, and trying to feed our all of our family, because not all of our family is working, not all of our family has food. And so when you can get back to this place, then we find that kindness, that care, and that love, so that we're able to help each other.
I
It's
agree
okay.
so much. I agree so much, but I think that I'm pragmatic in that, there's a lot of traumatized families. And so what one of the things I think if we don't and because I've had some problems being estranged from my family as well, my sisters, and it's been really hurtful to me. And but the problem is that it's not about you know our our birth family. Sometimes we can fill those roles as sisters and as aunties and as grandmas in the community. If we can't create those relationships in our birth family, in our blood family, we need to do that. I think there's a lot of people who have sort of done kind of what I've had to do is separate myself in order to continue your healing journey. I mean, that's what healing from the trauma is understanding what behaviors come from the boarding schools and what behaviors comes from capitalism and what behaviors are Lakota, what part of, and that's always a question I think we ask every day. Are we gonna act with love? Are we gonna treat everyone that we meet, everything that we meet? I on the way in today, I stopped and I got a jackrabbit that was on the road and it was gonna get mangled. I stopped for roadkill now that I've been walking with my friend Sharon Day over there and doing the Nibi walks and doing these water walks because I walk along those so many miles along those rivers or along those rivers, along those waterways and those the roadkill and that kind of stuff, like those are little spirits. And when we put tobacco down, when we come across them and we pray for them when we thank them for their lives. And so many of us are people who speed up when they see roadkill, and we have to acknowledge that. And so we don't have to be around those people. I think that we have to create ourselves a community that's full of love and protection, like our ancestors used to have, and that our ancestors still give us. I just want to shout out to the ancestors because I have a really great relationship with my dad in the spirit world, a better relationship with him in the spirit world than in real life. But so I think that we have to remember that him and all the others who have gone beyond. They're praying for us from over there, and we have to like I said before, that's most of what exists, right? If we only see 4% of the universe, and then most of it is the spirit world. So we need to be, including them in our meals and in our prayers, even more. And I wanted to say before we're almost done here, I see, and I just want to say that on that flotilla, my friend Sarah Clancy's on there, and I didn't talk about her before, but she's an Irish poet. I met her in the basement of a hotel in Ireland. Who my someone dropped me off, and I don't remember who it is, but I'm sure it was Donald Kelly dropped me off in the basement of a parking lot, and Sarah picked me up. This woman who's on this flotilla over there. And I went and stayed the night with her, and I came to know her. She's an incredible activist, has been for a long time, a very well printed poet. She's very amazing, and I'm happy to know her. She's going to be on the radio. I just want to invite everyone who's listening to come and check it out. Keepy with me. I have to get up at 2 a.m. Tonight, and then she's going to be on. So hopefully, you can check it out. But I'll probably record it and put it on tomorrow or whenever it is. But I'm going to get up at 2 a.m. and see her. And so maybe if your listeners want to check it out, they should check out Keepy. They're about 3 days away. So very, 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 very dangerous situation. And so we should all be praying for them and praying that sense wins, because if it's up to Netanyahu, we're in trouble, and I feel like we could be in trouble in a lot of ways. And so I just have so much anxiety about it. I just want to say that and pray for them, and pray for you. Thank you, Maggie, for always being on the ball and doing all this stuff and getting the message out to the people. You know, that's why I'm here. I'm back at on my res because local is the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that matters. We need to be not ahead of the people. We need to be with the people. And if the people, are unable to, get through the day without drinking or doing their drug or whatever, they're still worthy of love. And they're still worthy of care and compassion, and we should never treat people the way this civilized world treats them ever. Sorry, went on a little rant.
That's okay, Chaz. So this is Chas Jewett. Chaz is a enrolled member of the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe, and she is currently the Keepy radio station manager.
But nothing I said is on behalf of them. Let me just say. Nothing that I said is on behalf of the end of the tribe. I speak for myself today.
Yeah, we all do that. But so that's where she is. She's just recently got back on Facebook. I'm not there. But you can also follow her on TikTok as Chas Jewett, and she may be in other areas. But I want to thank her for coming on and talking with us. It's always good to have a guest and to have conversation and to know that there are other people throughout reservation life that are interested and care about things happening on the reservation and things happening outside of the reservation. So thank you, Chaz. I want to wish everybody a good rest of your Sunday and good rest of your week, and we will see you next week.